First thing going in the game, immediately noticed because I turned down my volume, is there's now new sound options, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, they already adjusted it. Maybe not. I swear there's a new dialogue volume. New, sound effects volume is new? I don't know. Anyways, my audio options were messed with when I came in here. This is like on 7 instead of 5. I swear to God, one of these is new. I don't remember which one it is, though. But still, would hope that they would add an out-of-game and in-game music slider, so you can turn up the music when you're out-of-game and turn it down when you're in-game, or vice versa, or whatever you want to do. The reason for that is because the music is extremely repetitive in-game, but it's really nice to have on for ambience. And there's no real ambience sliders, so... No. Would be nice. If anything's changed here, I kind of doubt it. New? I don't know if this is new or not. I don't remember this being here. Async compute. Pristine. Either way, they've increased the level cap, which you can immediately see in the bottom left, to 91. What else do we got going on here? Intercepted bot chatter includes expression of great sorrow for the murderer of in-development bots, a transparent attempt to disinformation. These bots can neither feel nor be considered alive. However, the simulated oaths of vengeance may indicate strategic intent. The counteroffensive is likely. They tried to take back Space Vietnam. They took back Space Vietnam. Dawn breaks upon a free creek, guys. Advertisers clearly have calculated their impending shutdown, have put the remaining resources into a large-scale counterattack. Desperate as it is, should re-invasion succeed, it may jeopardize our ability to destroy the bots in time to prevent their incoming invasion. Hold your ground. Okay. So nothing related to the patch. Let's take a look at the notes. Obviously, I'm level 91 now, which is new. I wonder what they increased the max level to. We will see shortly. Patch 0.000200. These extra zeros at the end seem kind of redundant, but you know. Let's see. So this is on their Discord. Balance for changes, mission stratagems, weapons, and Helldivers. Yes, this is a synopsis. Maximum cap level raised to 150. Edit. Added blizzards and sandstorms. Balancing. Retrieve essential personnel. Move the enemy spawn points further away from the objective to give players a fairer chance of defending the location. Okay. You mean so they aren't going to spawn in the middle of the... the middle of the civilians that are running away? Okay, that's kind of nice. There are fewer civilians required to complete the mission, like 2? It may be 2, then we can do it. On higher difficulties, okay. Destroy command bunkers. Now has more objective locations. The mission was too easy before compared to other missions. It's true, if you had the right thing, you could just blow up the bunker in the center. That being said, the bots are difficult to begin with. No friends yet? Yeah. I'm surprised it doesn't say, make some friends. Yeah, that wouldn't be, make you feel bad. Should just say, make some friends. It's technically friends that are playing the game. In-game. Different friends list than your Steam's friend list, which is different from your other friends list. Actually, I have some friends that are playing Helldivers 2 right now. They aren't friends in game, though. Good. Which is true. Now has more objective locations. The mission was too easy before compared to other missions. Yeah. Bots in general are kind of difficult. It's just a lot of running. We talked about this before. It's just a lot of running away. It's the biggest problem with bots is the one-taps, where you can't put up a fight because you risk just instantly dying. That's a big deal. That is a really big deal, where you just go from full health with 50% damage reduction to explosive and a shield pack, and you instantly die, which still happens. It is pretty obnoxious, and I've mentioned it multiple times. It's one of the reasons the bots just aren't fun. The major reason bots aren't fun is getting one-tapped. If there's a telegraphed ability where someone, it's like MMO logic, guys. There's a telegraphed ability where someone swings, gets their pickaxe up and goes for a swing, right? When they're doing that, you're like, oh, get out of the way, or you die, right? Most MMOs have mechanics like that, or in the case of like fire or something like that, it'll put a little thing on the ground where you can see where it's going to land, which they did with the meteors, which I've been talking about this for weeks, by the way, so this isn't new. They started doing it with the meteors, where the meteors had that little circle that got smaller and smaller. It's MMO logic, right? You dodge the circle so you don't die. Not against that. I think that works great. The problem arises when you have bots, which you don't even know they're aiming at you or where they are, and then you just instantly die, as is the case with rocket devastators, one-tapping or 1-2-tapping, which happens so fast you can't stim or even do anything before the second one hits. Same thing as a one-tap. Or the cannon turret. The cannon turrets don't seem to one-shot you anymore unless you're low on HP. They don't one-shot you anymore, but you'll still get that cannon turret that will just aggro to you from across the map, which is usually Joel trying to fuck with me. Will aggro to you from across the map and shoot you when you're not looking. And there's almost no way you can see. Like I've mentioned before, they should put a laser on it. It has a little laser thing that goes beep right before it fires, but if you see that, you're basically going to get hit and you're already shot, so it doesn't fucking matter. Yeah. It's great and everything. I appreciate having a little laser on there, but it's a good friendly reminder that that's the unfun part of the game, is just getting one tap. The cannon turrets usually don't even do anything. They aren't active. That's the fucking weirdest thing about it. If they were active, they would be not intrusive. What's the word I'm looking for? Not objectionable. They'd be overbearing as fuck. They would be absolutely overbearing as fuck. Like, there's almost nothing you could do about that. They just constantly just one-tap you from across the map from positions you wouldn't even see. They have ungodly range. The weird thing about them is they're almost never active. It's something with the AI, or Joel's just not on your stream or something, but either way, it's not active, and they'll just, like, fuck off into space. So, like, they don't really do anything. But occasionally Joel takes control of them, and they used to one-tap you constantly. I've had missions where they kill me 4 or 5 times. Yeah, the same mission. Just different turrets just doing it, and Joel just fucking around. Yeah, but not fun. It's not fun. So while they did, like, it's true that the bunker mission for the robots was easier than other difficulties because you could just drop heavy ordnance on it and run away. It still was, the bots in general are not fun to play against. But that's a different thing. That's in addition to multiple problems with the bots, which is another one is you have to poke the eyeball, right? Poke the slit. You have to hit the weak point, and that makes certain weapons much more usable, or only usable against the robots, because there's only so many weapons that are able to deal heavy damage to one particular spot and do it well, and it very much limits what you're capable of taking against the bots, as opposed to the bugs, which the bugs are mainly the major hurdle or weapon check is the chargers and bile titans, right? You need to have a way of dealing with them. But in the case of the robots, pretty much everything has that check where you have to shoot the hole. You have to shoot the hole, and it's part of the gameplay, but if they fix up the other weapons I've mentioned before, they do need to do an entire balancing pass, which someone basically took from my video and put onto Reddit, which got 17,000 upvotes. They need to do a balancing pass across the board. They need to do weapon differentiation, which is what we call where you have weapons that are good at certain things and not at other things. Pros and cons lists. Every game should have pros and cons lists for weapons to differentiate from each other. The problem is everyone wants everything to be a laser rifle, And as such, you don't have guns that are special, you just have stat sticks, and everything will eventually gravitate towards laser rifle, because everyone wants a weapon that does everything well, and at the end of the day, you only have one weapon. Fortnite does that. It's just, I guess in Fortnite you have two weapons. You have a laser rifle and then a shotgun, so there's that. Fortnite has two weapons, but they always gravitate towards the laser rifle. Kids always want the laser rifle. The laser rifle is horrible. It is uncharacteristic. It has no real qualities. It's not fun to use. It's just something that exists. And I'm not talking about a actual laser that might be balanced in a way that a laser might be in real life or in any way, shape, or form, but rather it is just a stat stick that shoots a straight line of bullets exactly to the target, no travel time, just instantly hits it for all the damage in the world. And the more the better, and that's what makes it fun for people. They don't realize it doesn't make it fun. It's one of the reasons they quit the games, but they'll say it's fun. They'll say that's what they want. No bloom, right? No bloom, no bloom. Yeah, just stat sticks. Just give me a stat stick. Just give me a stat stick. That's all they want. But in the case of the game, you have to put, like, we've talked about this multiple times, guns have to have pros and cons, so you have assault rifles that are generally jack of all trades, ace and none, right? They're kind of good all-rounders, but in a lot of games, the assault rifles just become everything weapons. They become the laser rifle, more or less. SMGs, which are good at, like, short to CQB to short, medium, or maybe even medium range, depending on how you want to do things in terms of effective range. DMRs and snipers, which are somewhere between medium to long, and long range for snipers, right? DMRs being somewhere between the two, between assault rifles and sniper rifles. You have shotguns, which are almost exclusively CQB weapons, maybe to short range-ish, right? And you have specialty weapons too, like plasma guns. You can figure out what you want them to be for effective range, or if they have weird nuances that will make them better or worse at certain things. Almost verbatim. That guy, like, almost verbatim copied my post from my last video. I've talked about this a couple different times, actually multiple times, over the last couple weeks since the game's come out. And that's almost straight verbatim from my last video where we talked about balancing changes with the last patch and how I thought they should actually go and do it. Verbatim, 17,000 upvotes on Twitter, guys, or on Reddit, always ahead of the curve. Here every day. Yeah, like they need to go through and do that, and they partially do that, which we're going to get to here in a second. I glanced over the notes. I didn't completely look them over. Let's go down the list here, though. I'm getting ahead of myself. Have the negative effect of operations modifiers that increase stratagem cooldowns or call-in times. So this should help against the robots. A lot of people bitch about the negative effects of the debuffs from the robots, and maybe rightfully so or not rightfully so. They're supposed to have a negative effect. That's like their thing, is they're supposed to actually be an additional modifier for whatever mission you're in. That's just the way it works. So, yeah. But they nerfed the debuff, so they buffed it, I guess. Nerfed it, buffed it, whatever way you want to look at it. They did a decent number of changes to weapons, a lot of which were not used at all, and some of which were used too much. Arc Bros got a nerf, which I would say maybe they needed, but once again, their Arc Bros just really want to be Arc Bros, which is they're people that just turn off their mind and they push the button. And I've said before, like, is it something that's negative for the game? Maybe not. Some people really want to do that, and, you know, I guess they want to do that, right? And if it gets out of hand, you'd probably just nerf the damage they can do against bosses, right? So they're less effective against Bile Titans and Chargers, for instance. And they kind of already do that, but also not really. But they definitely got a nerf. The main one was the animation cancel. The arc thrower fixed charging inconsistencies. It will now always take 1 second to charge the shot. The inconsistency was the animation cancel, where after you fire the first shot, you could fire it at about 60%, 60-70%. You could fire it. So this effectively decreases the DPS of the Arc Bros by 40%. Yeah, that's a pretty big nerf, because almost everyone that uses it knows how to do that. So Arc Bros got a fucking huge nerf, because everyone was doing the animation cancel. Anyone that actually knew how to use the gun was doing the animation cancel. So Arc Bros got a fucking huge nerf. This is putting aside the fact they reduced the distance by from 50 meters to 35 meters, increased the stagger force, so less likely for enemies to group up on them. I'm not exactly sure why they did that. Like, they just kind of do that by existing, so I'm not exactly sure why this is a thing. Do they really need stagger on Arc Thrower? I guess they wanted to give something back, I suppose. Arc Bros weren't really in a bad spot. They did get a nerf. They got a heavy nerf here, so maybe they're going to see like a grouping, like where they're going to get overwhelmed and group up on them, so they want to keep them at bay a little bit. So this might offset the DPS nerf and range nerf. But that 40%, guys, is a huge deal. That is a huge nerf right there. Putting aside the range reduction, the animation cancel, yeah, that's a huge fucking nerf to Arc Bros. There's a lot of people that were using Arc Bros. Most of my missions didn't have Arc Bros in it. We're playing like a shitload of Helldives. I watched streamers play and they're all using Arcs, and my missions, we almost never got Arcs, so I don't know. And weirdly enough, in my missions when people are using Arcs, they were usually pretty mindful of not killing you with them, which is also weird because I'll watch other people play and they'll just like zap each other. Like they're going out of style. So maybe I play too much with the developers. Joel was hijacking my games too much. Fucking Joel. He can't stand it. Either he has to play in my game or he gets in the cannon turret and kills me. You know, he really wants to be part of my group. I don't blame him. I'm fantastic at this game, so. Guard Dog. This is the inferior Laze Dog. Now restores full ammo from supply boxes. What? It had ammo to begin with? Is it talking about when it goes to your back or when you pick up boxes itself? Did it have ammo from boxes? If it has ammo from boxes you need to pick up, it's absolutely worthless. What do it? Yeah, I mean, I didn't even know this had ammo that you need to pick up for it, but apparently the Guard Dog actually has ammo? Like legit, like not it has to go to your back to reload, but it sounds like you actually have to pick up ammo for it. No fucking way. Well, that's another reason not to ever touch the thing. I mean, maybe we'll try it out to see if there's maybe a DPS trade-off, but holy fuck. That's pretty terrible. Anti-material rifle, basically the inferior railgun. Damage increased by 30%. The problem with the anti-material rifle was not the damage. The problem with the anti-material rifle was the aim punch. Because you can't fucking aim properly when you're constantly getting aim punched. There's no way to steady yourself and stop from getting constantly aim punched with the thing, which makes it next to worthless. So they can increase the damage all they want on it, within reason. They can increase the damage all they want on it, but it's not addressing the main concern with the anti-material rifle, which is the aim punch on it. Oh, hey look, there's a guy just called Helldiver. Did you have to fight for that name? Like, did someone pay you for it? Yeah. Oh. Messed up your communications. You're gonna have to un-RP if you're actually looking for tech advice. Your chat doesn't work in game or what? Yeah. Breaker incendiary damage, which has always been kind of the inferior breaker. Looks like they buffed the fire damage on it, which is, I mean, the weird thing about the incendiary, guys, was the fact that it never actually. The dot from the fire never felt like it ever offset the damage reduction from just like being not the breaker, right? The direct damage just felt like it never offset it. It was just kind of like a flavorful breaker. So this mixed with what we're about to comment on here, increased the damage from 15 to 20 per bullet, which means this is a 30% damage increase, which is very meaty for the dot. Well, whatever the dot was in the first place. And then in fire damage per tick increased by 50% from all sources. So this is pretty insane. It's always kind of weird because it felt like the fire damage has never, across all sources, has never offset the difference between, like, it felt like, the weird thing is when you did the fire, not Vipers, of the Eagle napalms, when you do the Eagle napalms, most of the damage came from the impact from the napalm, not the napalm itself, which is insane, right? You'd expect the majority of damage from a fire weapon to come from the fire itself, not from the napalm. Like, it's actually like an elemental trade-off, right? Where it turns into a dot or more of like poisons along the same vein, right? And then you have to figure out what the difference is between poison and fire in terms of balancing mechanics, which is its own discussion, but if you have something that does fire damage, like, oh, it's just going to set it on fire and do a lot of damage. No, it never really felt like the fire, the napalm grenades, the napalm Vipers, the napalm Eagles, the the fire shotgun. It never felt like it offset the fact that it is the direct damage trade-off with something you could just take an eagle, right? It never felt like an area denial weapon, and really fire feels like something that should deny an area from enemies or make it so they take significant damage if you position them strategically to go through an area. And that's like the benefit of using like napalm, right? Or a flamethrower. So this right here is also a huge buff to the flamethrower. Fire damage per tick increased by 50% from all sources, so this includes basically everything in the game. And the incendiary gut. It might actually be the breaker incendiary is going to be insane. So based on what we're seeing here, because the breaker incendiary was kind of like a shitty breaker, but it wasn't bad. Like, it wasn't like, oh my god, this is an unusable shotgun, as much as it just wasn't, you know, as good as the breaker was. So these two changes here in general might make the incendiary absolutely insane. We'll have to wait and see. Nope. You already turned it off and on. There's only so many things you can actually do to troubleshoot a PS5. I would check the Discord and see whether or not, type in PS5 and see how many posts pop up in the search box. The Discord, because there's so many people in it, is legitimately like, not my Discord, by the way, I don't have a Discord. The Helldivers 2 Discord is legitimately like an RSS feed. You just type in like disconnects or crashing or PS5 and see what pops up immediately. Because if it just happened after the patch, there's probably multiple people with your same issue in it. So, just go there and periodically hit enter and see what pops up. Or just look through the posts at this point. But I don't have a PS5, I have no idea. You already tried restarting your computer, you're restarting your console, you tried closing the app, you tried crossplay on and off. And you already tried joining on your friends, and you tried joining a quick play lobby. Have you tried hosting? Another option is try hosting. Yeah, if you've tried everything already yourself, then I don't know what other options you have, dude. You'd have to check the forums for some specialized advice, which I don't have. The Liberator Penetrator, which one is this? Now has a full auto mode. Oh, that's the penetrating, that's the triple burst. Now has a full auto mode. Yeah, no problem, dude. Let's bring up the weapon here. This is... What the fuck? Stop. Why are you randomly playing? Stop. No. No, I did not give you permission to play. Oh, no. No, it's not. It is the explosive one. No, I was right. It's showing the wrong image on the Google. Yeah, so it's this guy. Here. And this never felt really all that great because it didn't do enough. It wasn't the fact that it didn't have a full auto mode. It's the fact that it doesn't actually... It doesn't penetrate as hard as it fucking says it does. It says it has medium armor penetration. It clearly does not have medium armor penetration, by the way. In no way, shape, or form. So they added an auto mode, but what it really needed is more penetration. Because it's supposed to be the penetrating rifle, right? And it doesn't have that. So, I don't know. Maybe they can't go past a certain like break point in the game where then it like falls over into like being able to pop off charger legs or something, right? I don't actually know. I'm not exactly certain what the fuck's going on there. That's not exactly how I would have buffed the Liberator Penetrator, but I guess now it has an auto mode, so... Yeah, I don't know if that really did anything for it, so... Yeah, like the biggest problem... Well, not the biggest problem. One of the problems with the assault rifles in general is, besides the high ammo consumption, is the fact that they're scopes. They don't have scopes. They need to have a scope. And I'm not talking about going into first person and looking through the scope. Rather, you need to have zoom levels when you go into third person and you're ADSing in third person, so you're aiming in third person. It needs to zoom in the game. Like, that would help immensely with being able to pop eyeballs, for instance, on the bots, where you have to poke the hole, right? If you don't have a zoom, it makes it very difficult to poke the hole. And that would add a lot of value to all the assault rifles, the DMRs, and maybe the SMGs. Depends if they want to put scopes on them. I think some have scopes, but they're like artificial. Yeah, like just having an actual scope on the guns would be initially a really good idea. And they don't have scopes right now. The Dominator, increased damage from 200 to 300, increased stagger. The Dominator, I believe, is explosive. This. Oh no, that's the one I always use. Why? Holy fuck. It was already really good. Yeah, no, that's the gun I always use. Well, they increased the damage by 50%. It didn't need that. I took this and I popped fucking, like, all the time because it has a significant amount of ammo you start with. I just use it to pop medium bugs, like, constantly. Like, it's not a bad gun. Increased stagger. Well, I guess they did that. It didn't need that, but they did that. Yeah. Because it took, like, one more hit than the Slugger, but it fires faster and has a lot more ammo. And has a lot more ammo per clip. So I would just take it and use it to pop the medium bug heads, just all except for the small ones. Just pop the ends. This isn't going to help the small bugs, which is the problem with the gun, is because of the slew rate, how fast it turns, and aligns with where you're aiming. The slew rate of the gun itself, the handling of the gun itself, makes a very poor choice for smaller bugs, which is where I use my secondary for small bugs, right? Yeah, I don't think it needed that, but I guess it has. It would make it better against the bots, I suppose. But the bots, once again, comes down to popping faces, so popping eyeballs. Well, there's that. And increase the stagger, and also something it really didn't need, but... Okay, I guess they're just throwing stuff at it. A lot of these, like, they're buffs. Don't get me wrong, a lot of these are buffs, except for the Arc Bros. Arc Bros got nerfed. A lot of these are buffs, but not really in a meaningful or helpful way to the gun. I don't think the Dominator needed a buff. Maybe it does from the fact that people aren't using. A lot of people shit talk it, but I use it all the fucking time. I do great with it, so yeah. It does basically the same amount of damage as a shotgun now. I don't think it needs to do that, but I guess it does now. Well, there's that. I don't think it needed that at all. Okay, well, I guess, guys. Counter Sniper. That's one of the sniper rifles, one of the DMRs. There's a bunch of DMRs, they're all useless. The shitty thing is, we've talked about it before. The shitty thing about this is with the DMRs, if they become too strong, then they become replacements for stratagems. Stratagems are supposed to be like your primary damage dealers, at least that's what it seems in the game. And there's the railgun, there's the anti-material rifle, which, you know, is a 50 cal, right? And you have these DMRs, right? DMR/snipers, which are smaller versions. If you make these effective at breaking armor, then you lose the niche that the railguns have, that the AMR has, if it even has a niche at all. The anti-material rifle has. The autocannon has. And what they're doing here apparently is they change the damage armor penetration from light to medium. And depending, like, it says medium, but we talked about this before, that when they say light, medium, heavy, in terms of armor penetration, I don't think there is anything that does heavy armor penetration. When they mention that in a game, it is a flavor text, it is not an actual stat. They don't give you the number, because it's already very clear that, for instance, the Liberator Penetrator always said it had medium armor pen, and it clearly did not have medium armor pen. The armor pen on it was pretty terrible. So it was pretty clear that these words is just flavor text. It's just something there that might mean something. So it could say medium, but it won't actually pen, for instance, charger leg, right? So if it says medium, it might still not be able to pop a armor leg on a charger. Should it be able to? I don't think so, but maybe. Like, it depends if they want to bleed over. Like, they have to sit down and decide if they want to have weapons that you take normally in the game that can do basically what stratagems can do, right? And this is where differentiation comes in, and you have to figure out where everyone wants to be and figure out the mechanics of your game. Where you have the Diligence here, which is light to medium. This might not be enough to pop the leg armor on a charger, which is like the break point, right? But maybe it does. You can't tell. You can't tell. Like, a slugger can't pop the leg armor on a charger, right? But that was also, slugger was also medium armor pen. Slugger got nerfed. A lot of people were using it mainly because of vocal streamers in the community always talking about certain guns. A lot of stuff is nothing to do with it being good. We've talked about this when we played Overwatch, and over the years this has become more and more common, which is people will use and meta will become normal. Meta will become normal based on what streamer Chan says. So if there's an influencer that says something in the community, streamer Chan says something in the community, Simon says, people will go and do it. If they have anything that proves XYZ, people will go and do it. Despite there being other options other than the Slugger. The bots, I would say the Slugger was really the only option for a gun, because once again, poking the eyeball, and there's only so many guns that can poke the eyeball and stagger. And Slugger was one of the few that could actually do that. So that's why I almost exclusively use the Slugger against the robots. Maybe we'll try the Liberator Penetrator now. Again, we've tried it before, but we tried all the weapons against the bots, and we ended up on the Slugger because it's the only thing that worked. Slugger got a nerf. They reduced the stagger on it, which was not nearly as good as what's the Punisher. The Punisher has much higher stagger than the Slugger does. But they reduced the stagger on the Slugger, reduced damage on the Slugger, reduced demolition force. I don't know what this means in regard to what's going on. That might be like brute force. I'm not exactly sure. I don't think that's the same as penetration, which is one of the benefits of the Slugger is the penetration. Demolition force maybe is just if you don't hit a weak point. Slugger fixed armor penetrating tag in the menu. So once again, flavor text. This isn't actually a stat. This is a flavor text. So it's just what they attach to a variable. It has nothing to do with the game balance. Slugger, Liberator, Concussive, Senator, fixed incorrect armor penetration tags in the menu. Once again, we've talked about the fact that how the armor penetration tags were all wrong, or most of them were wrong, and it was just flavor text that needed to be updated. They just updated it. Recoilless Rifle, increase the number of rockets you restore from supply boxes from 2 to 3. Recoilless, one of the reasons you wouldn't want to use it is because, once again, as opposed to the now everywhere Quasar, or EATs, or expendables, one of the reasons you would take the recoilless would be the potential for higher throughput of using the recoilless, right? Because you can actually just pick up ammo from boxes, and you could potentially outstrip the respawn rate of expendables, which is, I think, every 70 seconds to get 2. So you have a higher potential for warheads as opposed to other stuff. This increases it even further. So there's a benefit to having a backpack over expendables, because expendables are like a direct competition with recoilless. With that being said, you could also just fucking use the Quasar now. So the Quasar is another variable in here, which is unlimited rockets every 10 seconds. 1 rocket every 10 seconds. But it has a warm-up on it. There are some downsides using the Quasar, but does it outstrip the amount of damage you can do with it? No. Maybe if they increase it to 20 seconds or 50, I think 15 or 20 is probably where the Quasar needs to go in terms of reload speed on it. Then it might you might have competition here. Right now the Quasar is just going to continue to reign. There's no competition with the Quasar. Quasar is just, you get a recoilless or an expendable every 10 seconds, and the downside to it is the warm-up on it. I mean, they could also make it kind of worthless by increasing the warm-up on it, so time before you can fire it. I mean, they could do that instead of the reload speed, too. That's another way of fucking people. As with the railgun, we talked about the railgun needing to be it needs to be buffed again. Not to where it was, but it needs to be buffed. And I mentioned before, one of the best ways they probably could do that is by increasing the charge speed. The problem with the railgun right now is not the fact that you can overheat and explode. It is not the fact that you have to overcharge in the first place. It's the fact that the railgun has 0 to 100% charge takes like 1 second, but then, like, let's say 100, I don't know what the full charge is, but 150% charge takes 2 seconds. So this little bar here in which you need to go in order to do damage to units takes 2 times as long as it's 0 to 100 to charge. And the problem is the time here that it takes you to charge up, even if you can get the timing down and you don't explode, the time it takes to fire it is too long for the amount of damage it does. They need to reduce basically the charge speed, so it charges like 2 times as fast to achieve the same thing. And that would allow you to do the same thing, but at the same time, you would also suffer from exploding. So, there's that. But right now, right now is just it takes too long to fire the damn thing when you're running around, and as such, you can't use it as an optional weapon. And I do miss the railgun. It did need to be nerfed. I was one of the people that actually said it needed to be nerfed, as well as the shield pack. Shield's pack is still fucking broken as shit. It did need to be nerfed, and it looks like it needs buffed now. But that's either here nor there, because you have the Quasar, which is definitely the elephant in the room right now, and just something that everyone takes. So, yeah. Anyways, they increase the ammo efficiency of the recoilless as well as the spear, which makes them much more useful. The spear is pretty good. Don't get me wrong, the spear is pretty good for the damage it does. It has problems with locking. It still has problems with locking. 80% of my missiles do not fucking hit. I don't know if they fixed it, which is what we'll get into here in the bug fixes. Maybe, but it has a lot of issues, and like that's the sole reason I stopped using it, was because it fucking wouldn't lock properly. It would lock, it would go lock, and then sometimes it even turned green, and I push the button, you could hear like it's firing, and then it would unlock. And you're like, what the fuck just happened? Yeah, like it would actually reach the point of being able to fire the fucking missile, and fire the missile from my client, and the game would deny it, and it didn't make any sense in any way, shape, or form, guys. Yeah, I don't fucking know. Heavy machine gun, the highest rate mode has been reduced from 1200 RPMs to a more moderate 950. The heavy machine gun is, like, I never ran it at 1200. I don't even know what 1200 sounded like. You know why? Because I always set it to the slowest fucking fire rate, because you would overkill. You would waste ammo firing into bugs that were already dead. So being able to fire at 1200 rounds per minute didn't change anything. It just made you waste ammo. So is this... I don't even know if they need to do this. Like, you just don't run it at that speed, or maybe you can find a case in the future to run it at 1200. But you just waste so much ammo just doing it, so I always ran it, I set it to the lowest speed and run it at the lowest speed, which I think is 650. And the problem with the heavy machine gun, once again, is the fact you can't do charger or bile titan damage, right? And when you're trying to kill robots, it was not accurate enough to pop eyeballs. Like, your aim would be all over the place, and that you wouldn't be able to pop the eyeball, so you just waste a shitload of ammo, and then you would die. And it's supposed to be your heavy weapon, right? Let's see. Stratagems. Patriot exosuit. Rockets will now penetrate armor only on direct hit, so a slight nerf to the Patriot. I don't think the Patriot's really that strong. The exosuit was really that strong. Mainly because they're super brittle. Even though they did a lot of damage when they're on the field, you'd have to do damage in the first place, right? Enemies. Well, they didn't do any backpack changes here, or one stratagem change? Okay. Enemies. Charger's normal melee attack now does less damage to exosuits, so stopping them from instantly killing the exosuit. Which you could usually get out of the way of the charger if they're near you. Like, they're so brittle, once again, guys, you just get away from anything that's going to attack you. Except for the little guys you can step on. Bile spears and nursing spears do less damage with their puke, which is weird, because you assume that was part of, like, that's part of the difficulty of playing against bile spears in general. So the corrosive bugs and the ticks got a huge nerf. Oh, a nerf. But I thought that was supposed to be the damage curve, so maybe they're waiting to add another unit to change things? I don't know. Bile Tank can no longer be stunned, alright. More of an unstoppable force. I guess it stops you from comboing them when they're about to spit on you, right? You can't stop them from spitting now. Shrikers no longer create bug breaches. That was kind of weird they did in the first place. I didn't even notice that. Shrikers hitting you while they are dead now does significantly less damage. Oh? Joel got his giggles in of killing you with physics in the game? Alright, Joel. Thanks, Joel. I appreciate having Shrikers run into you and kill you with their dead bodies while they do almost no damage to you normally. Thanks, Joel. That's a good one right there. Joel's such a joker, guys. He's such a JK. He's such a JK. Alright. Helldiver balancing adjustments. So, armor? Heavy and medium armor protects you Protects better, and you now take 10% less damage than before while wearing heavy, and about 5% less while wearing medium. Fortified Commando and light armor unchanged. I don't know what Fortified Commando is. Light armor is just light armor, right? I assume this is a stat. So they're making heavy armor more protective. Which is good, because you're fucking slow as shit in heavy armor. It is... I don't even touch it. Way too slow. I don't even know if this makes up for it. I guess they're being conservative because they don't want people to be super heavy duty. Well, at the same time, the biggest problem without... There's no mention of shield packs in here, by the way. So shield packs are still the go-to. Doesn't even matter what armor you're taking. Just always take a shield pack. I don't even know if it's worth taking heavy armor. Because you're so slow you can't dodge shit, and then you get hit by it, so you take extra damage from stuff you couldn't avoid. Or you otherwise aren't avoiding nearly as well. Alright. We got fixes. People are bitching about this on the forums. Fixed issue while settings, save settings for PS5 would reset when the game rebooted. Okay. Enemies now properly target exosuits. Previously, many enemies effectively ignored exosuits if a Helldiver on foot was available. Interesting. Fixed exosuit being able to fire their weapons while opening the minimap. The Helldiver and the exosuit both had a bug that made them sometimes take explosion damage multiple times, making things like automaton rockets be too deadly. This is now fixed. Interesting. I think exosuits are still useless against automatons because they shoot at you and peck away at all your health because you're so big. Automaton enemy constellations that preferred to spawn more of certain Devastator types did not work and are now functioning as they should. Constellations, I believe, are mutators? Maybe this is like the spawn group. Yeah, this must be what they call like the spawn, like the spawn point is a constellation. This means that sometimes when playing against the automatons, you will face more Devastators instead of other enemy types. Heavy. We had legitimately, not recently, but like when the game first came out, in like the first week, we legitimately had a mission where we just won against like 70% fucking rocket Devastators. It was miserable. Constantly just getting flung around. That's before they one-tapped you. Now they just one-tap you. Good trade-off. I think I'd actually prefer getting flung around as opposed to getting one-tapped, but I guess Joel can't make up his mind on what he wants to do. Improved Hellpod steering system close to important objects. Solved an issue when effective area around objects was a lot larger than intended. So basically they had time to go through and fix basically boxes on the map. We've reduced the number of objects that prevent Hellpod steering. Fixed cases where grounded or some assets could be bombed, causing them to float. Seen that. This system was intended to prevent soft locks where player can drop into important interaction points or drop into unintended places, like the ravine next to the fucking beacons in, or the TCS missions, I think? The Terminated Control Mission System. There was one day, the first day it came out, where I was dropping into the cooling pools next to it, and you couldn't get out. You just die. And that was when the floating bug existed, so you just lay down there and dead, floating in the water. But you couldn't respawn. Also great. Ballistic shield changes. Oh my. Collision mesh has been slightly increased in size for more forgiveness. You just make a bigger shield. Give them like fucking Reinhardt or something. I don't fucking know. We talked about this before with, to clarify a bit here. We talked about this before with the shield pack being too OP. And I said that the shield pack shouldn't prevent melee damage. and it should not prevent knockback effects, and that should be given, and they should revert basically the shield pack to what it was in terms of damage protection from ranged. So only effectively prevents ranged damage and nothing to do with CC, nothing to do with melee. Because if you want melee protection, you should be using the ballistic shield. The ballistic shield in general, should actually be something that gives you basically more stability because it's a physical shield, right? More stability. And that's be like the start, because right now they could do all sorts of cool things, by the way, with the ballistic shield. You can make it where it's like fucking like Crisis, where you have like parts of it that, like, you know, like if you're getting hit from the side, it'll like creep out or something, like made of nanites. You know, you could think up a lot of things, right? So it's kind of like a reactive shield, but it actually be pretty fucking cool instead of you just typical shield. Because it is a sci-fi game, it can be borderline magic and or magical sci-fi. It's the same shit, right? You just change how it looks. It's still magic, more or less magic. Anything you can think of. But yeah, let's just start. And the shield should prevent CC in the first place, as opposed to the shield pack, which doesn't really make sense. What makes the shield pack so fucking OP, besides the melee resistance, is the fact that melee eats. Well, there's a couple things that makes the shield pack OP. The main thing, though, is the CC, because if you're not getting flung around by the bugs or the bots still flick you around quite a bit. If you're not getting flung around by the bugs, that means you can actually kill them or run away. If you get CC'd, so you get slowed down by the little fucks, or Charger throws you around, and you're going to take a shitload of damage even though you have a shield. So the CC resistance is really what makes the shield pack super fucking OP. They changed shield pose so the less the Helldiver is exposed, still going to be useless. Address the bug where part of the Helldiver would become vulnerable while using the shield in the first person. Well, there's that. One shield user, guys, is going to be ecstatic about this change. Yeah. Once again, if it actually had a meaningful niche, which it doesn't have, maybe then people would use it, but they don't. Because then you have to use a single. Like, you have to use a secondary weapon, too, on top of it, so you can't even use your primary. Yeah. It's kind of a big deal. A lot of trade-offs for no real advantage. Known issues. Picking up snowballs still can crash a game. Friend invites crossplay. Players cannot befriend players with Steam names shorter than 3 characters. Shit. Explosive weapon stats only include direct hit damage, but not explosive damage. Well, I mean, a lot of the stats in the game are basically incomplete. They've mentioned that before, which is why people that sit there and fucking overanalyze stats are dumb. Especially when it seems like they're different in-game, like the penetration stat. Explosions do not break your limbs, except when you fly into a rock. Okay. Still broken. Drowning in deep water with a vitality booster equipped puts Helldiver into a broken state. Yeah, that's where you have to get shot. Stratagem B might attach itself to an enemy, will drop in its original location. Yep. So biggest changes here, guys. Arc Bros got a nerf. Poor Arc Bros, they're going to be furious. Maybe that's why they want to touch the shield pack, because Arc Bros are probably the same people that are using shield packs. They wanted to slow down the pain, the suffering. Yeah. Arc Bros are probably the same people that are using shield packs for sure. Arc Bros got a huge nerf. Huge nerf to Arc Bros. The Breaker might be insanely OP. And the Dominator got a really big buff it didn't need it. Which I guess just makes it OP now, I guess. I don't know, the biggest problem with the Dominator is shooting small bugs, so I don't really think this is a big deal. Counter Sniper, if it creeps into basically being an anti-material rifle, might be really good. Because you could then effectively take you could take a LMG and then a primary weapon, right? A Diligence to pop heavy units, which would be a weird mechanic change, I guess you could say. Slugger got a decent nerf too. It'd be a weird mechanic change, but it possibly might be something people would want to do. I might be willing to give that a shot if that's actually a thing, but what it actually means by armor penetration here being medium is up in the air. Is this the same thing as, like, a fucking anti-material rifle? Or a railgun that's overcharged? Or what is this? You know, it's a flavorful number that, or flavorful text that doesn't really mean much until you figure it out in game. So, this might be good. It might be game-changing, depending on how you want to play, meta-changing. But only if it can be used, like, for instance, against Chargers or Bile Titans, right? Don't know. Remains to be seen. No mention of fixing the spear lock-on, which is fucking weird. Recoilless rifle might be useful now. More so than Expendables or Quasar. I don't think so. I mean, more than Expendables. Maybe more than Expendables. Competitive with Expendables. That's what I want to go with. Quasar is still going to be the go-to, though. Quasar is still broken. No mention of Quasar. They probably want to give people some time with it before they nerf it, because it needs to be nerfed. The biggest changes here, Bros Nerfed. Breaker Incendiary might be insane right now. Also, the flamethrower might be much better now. Insanely good. A lot of these things don't matter against bots, though. Like, we're talking about this and looking through the lens of playing against the Zerg, right? Playing against the Tyranids. And most of these changes are things that affect the Tyranids, not the Necrons. Slugger nerf might even be extremely effective against Necrons. We'll have to see. Biggest thing, though, is a change to the Arc Bros. And Arc Bros, Breaker, and possibly Dominator. I mean, there's some definite honorable mentions here, which is Diligence, which has to be tested. The Slugger. I mean, they changed other stuff too, but it doesn't really matter. The way they changed it doesn't matter. Say the Breaker, the Liberator, and the Arc Bros definitely got nerfed. Arc Bros 100% got nerfed. I know exactly how that gun works. I never used it. I used it a couple times, but it's not my thing. I don't like using just one weapon the entire time. It's boring. Arc Bros got fucking nerfed. Alright. Well. Interesting. Is it going to change up the meta? Maybe. The Slugger nerf. I don't know how this is going to affect our ability to play against the Necrons. Because this was the only go-to for the Necrons is the Slugger. So, yeah. Hell, they put scopes on assault rifles. Yeah. They do have scopes. Yeah, they don't do anything. Zooms in the game should affect your third-person zoom. And all assault rifles should have zooms. I mean, there's a Liberator Penetrator, but they didn't. What it needed more is more penetration. It needs more penetration power. And it got a full auto mode. So, I mean, I guess it's another alternative, but the assault rifles themselves all suck, so you could just use a shotgun, right? The go-to is the shotgun. Shotguns have no trade-offs, as we mentioned at the beginning of the stream. There's no downsides. The pros and cons do not exist. They have to go through and redifferentiate different weapons, which was conveniently copied to Reddit, but I've talked about it many times on my stream, which you can go back to my last YouTube highlight, which this will be a highlight. You can go back to my last YouTube highlight where I talked about it, which was 2 weeks ago. Yeah. Anyways, I guess I could give the guard dog a I haven't tried the guard dog since launch when I realized it sucked and I bought the wrong one, so I guess we could try it again. The assault rifle dog, the AR dog, as opposed to the laze dog. Laze dog's much better than the AR dog, though. Yeah. Biggest thing, though, Arc Bros Breaker Incendiary, which might be insanely OP now. And maybe have to figure out what exactly is going on with the Diligence counter sniper. But that's probably nothing special, so remains to be seen.